we'll put it like that.
Nice.
What's it like? I was actually there in attendance in Cleveland for Coe's first career NFL touchdown, which was awesome. And,
Awesome.
It was a great game. You could hear me on camera. I was just screaming, "Say it ain't so, Coe! Say it ain't so!" Sadly, from there, the game kind of went off the rails a little. That was the last high moment of that game, but it was a great game. Overtime loss, fun time.
Yeah.
But how was that moment for you? Seeing the first, whether it was on TV, in person, wherever you were, seeing his first NFL touchdown. How was that?
Well, dude, I mean, we were at home because it was a away game. We don't travel to a lot of the away games because we can get into that later. But, to watch that and to think I wished I was there live. So to have your video was so cool. And just that, this is so cool. I mean, that was so cool for us. Catching it from Tom Brady, right? Like he's got the ball yet. First NFL touchdown means a lot, right? I mean, as a dad, that's just so cool to see. It was fun to watch. And, it didn't have the outcome we wanted, but still the same. What a memory! What a memory to have, right? So,
and honestly,
cool.
those. One of the best guests ever, the Buccateers in the house tonight. You guys hear him on Tampa radio all the time. He's one of the best in the business. My favorite personal in the business. That's why I'm elated tonight. Growing up in the Chicago area, you're used to sports radio. That's what gets me through the day. So this man does help get me through the day, I will say, with the Pat and Aaron show at work. Nothing like it. So it's incredible. It looks like we got Stunna bumbling in. I'm Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little cleared. But we're joined by Pat Donovan.
It looks like Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like you got a little...
No, my camera's broke.
And he was trying to pull me in big time. And then I was like, hey, nothing's happened with Indianapolis yet. Like, I really want to give Indy a chance. And then also I talked to Cody Gruden, once he took over Rich McCannum still like, well, look, I was like, y'all just give me the opportunity to explore free agency, see what's going on, and then can I make it do it.
All right, everyone, you are tuned into the Buccateers, a wide receiver, Kalen Geiger, and we are about to have a great pod. This is the Buccateers. You're tapped in, and here we go. Howdy ho, howdy hey, how the hell is everybody? Welcome into the Buccateers podcast. I'm your host, Tampa Tones, alongside the great Bucs by 30 and J-Lo of the Buccateers per usual, and we got a very special guest in the house tonight, friend of the program's been on plenty of times, the man, the myth, the legend himself, former college athlete and former co-host of Buck What You Heard, or current co-host, whatever the hell you want to call him, Ken Barrett. Baby, how the hell we doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you all doing today?
We got some good Buck stuff to talk about, so always a good thing when that happens, and it seems like always on the podcast day we get some breaking news, and today we got just that, my friend.
Yeah, I hear Teddy Two Gloves is going to be joining.
Yeah, so that'll be exciting. Teddy Two Gloves backing up Baker No Gloves, and we'll see how that goes. J-Lo, how the hell you doing, brother? Happy signing of a third quarterback day, I guess we'll call it.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, adding a veteran presence is really important in the QB room. Glad they brought Teddy Bridgewater in. Not sure it's number 2 or 3. We'll see what goes, during the preseason. But I'm excited, man. It's great. It's a great day.
Zach, how you feeling, brother? How was your training camp trip? I can't wait to hear about that as well.
It was amazing. Thanks for asking. Absolutely amazing. But let's not get it twisted, fellas. Bridgewater's number 3.
Yes, he's a third unless Trask proves that he can't be a backup. That's how I look at it. And we'll talk about it right now. KB, my thoughts are this on the situation. Obviously, Baker's number one, easy, no doubts about it. He's a franchise quarterback for now, and we'll see what happens in the future. But for now, it's all about Baker. And then 2 comes along. To me, they brought back Trask for a reason, and I know he hasn't looked great in camp, so to speak, but you're not going to re-sign a guy and not utilize him, as we do have Trisha and Olivia, a couple lady listeners in the house. How the hell y'all doing? And then, Pratt gets hurt. Reports were they like Pratt, but he got hurt, and now he's probably going on IR. And now you need a veteran quarterback for the room to get reps. And just in case Baker goes down, Trask will step in, but Trask will get the shortest lead. He'll get 1 game, whatever the hell it might be. If he looks bad, he's going to get yanked. But for now, KB, it goes Baker, Trask, and then Teddy Bridgewater is that veteran in the room, waiting in the wings just in case emergency needs to happen where he steps in and, the Bucs are playoffs on the line and Teddy B needs to come in and maybe play hero ball, which none of us hope happens. But what say you, Kenny?
Yeah, I mean, we saw Kyle Trask in your neck of the woods when we played Indianapolis not too long ago, and Baker scrambled and got hurt there. I think Baker was definitely limping around that game, and Trask really got the end of that drive. I thought he had a good throw to, I believe it was Godwin in the end zone, but he was immediately pulled from there. That tells me, just from a faith perspective, and even 2 years ago when there was a Trask versus Baker battle, I mean, Todd Bowles literally tipped his hand that it was Baker's job to lose, essentially. And obviously we've had some success with Baker these past 2 years, so I'm thankful that took place. Kyle Trask just kind of is what he is. I don't think anyone should be too concerned about Teddy taking jobs or anything like that. I think it's good to have a third quarterback from a practice squad, from a training camp reps perspective. We know Baker just hit his hand recently. Practice today, saw that he practiced pretty well. So nothing to really worry about there. As long as Charlie Heck can hold his end of the bargain at left tackle and Gadecki stays healthy, we just got to get through those first 4 weeks, then we can go back to this offensive line of pure dominance, running the ball downhill, Baker all the time in the world in the backfield. So I'm not really concerned about the fit there with Teddy. It's well documented now, at least, that if the Bucs didn't get Brady, that's who they were going to pursue anyway. So it sounds like Lighton Bowles, for instance. I mean, BA was the head coach at the time, but I'm sure Bowles was involved in some way. We know how BA kind of, delegated a lot, CEO type mindset. Hey, I'm sure he was like, hey, Byron, hey, Todd, are you all okay if Brady's not the guy and we bring in Teddy? Again, Teddy obviously was in the news recently. Still don't understand how he got in trouble for literally helping kids out for doing basic things that high school programs should be providing. But I mean, again, Teddy's a good locker room guy. I think he'll challenge Trask a little bit, but to your point, Tones, I don't think Teddy's going to be taking anything away from Trask, at least when the initial 53 comes out in a month.
Yeah, and Kenny, I think you hit the nail on the head on a couple of points. First of all, door B, yes, Teddy Bridgewater was a proclaimed behind Brady guy, right? And as you said, that was clear. Phillip Rivers' name mentioned a little bit as well, but Teddy Bridgewater was the guy who Bruce wanted if he didn't get Brady. So that's a very good point. And let's remember, Bucs, Jason Light and his brass have said multiple of times before that they keep files on guys after they're drafted or after they're signed elsewhere. They keep profiles on these type of guys. They made it known they liked Teddy Bridgewater before. No doubt in my mind, like Kenny said, they like this guy. They like him a lot. They kept a little secret on him, and hey, he became available, and boom. And let's not lie, due to, lack of, to me, stupid high school rules, Teddy Bridgewater now needs to be a quarterback again and make some money back. And
especially with NIL, that's just what's funny. The NIL is taking over not just college, but high school too. Yep. And like a coach who has the means, Like, it's not like he was trying to get players into his high school, rerouting, changing, mailbox numbers or anything like that. Like basic Uber rides for kids to get home, for physical therapy if a player was injured, a training stuff. Like, it's just like, come on now. Like, what are we doing here?
Sounds like a good guy in my books. Zach, what say you on the overall signing? I mean, this is a guy who's not only he was a Pro Bowler before. He's a good guy off the field, and it's a shame what happened to him. But glad to have him in the Bucs locker room. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, I was at camp Friday and Saturday. Only 2 quarterbacks were going both days, so practice ended early both days because they just didn't have enough guys to spread out the workload. It's hot out there, so they had to bring in somebody. Bridgewater hasn't played a meaningful snap in 3-4 seasons. So, I mean, it's not like he's going to come in here and blow the doors off of anything, right? So, and the Bucs didn't even dress 3 quarterbacks at all season last year. They only had 2 on game day. So he's really just in there to maybe, push Trask a little bit, but just to help with the workload during camp. Like I said, when Trask wasn't on the field Friday or Saturday, it was kind of ugly. The third string guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but
Bazalik.
Yeah, Bazalik. Yeah, you can
From
tell.
Bowling Green.
There's a noticeable drop off. So bringing somebody in like Bridgewater just helps everybody get reps. They're also real thin at receiver. So bringing in somebody that's a little bit more polished will help the development of those guys that are lower on the rung there, and also make preseason a little bit more enjoyable, right? I mean, I don't think anybody wants to see Bazalik out there throwing it to Harris. So this helps a little bit with that aspect as well.
Yeah, and Bazalik, he had a good first half last year against Penn State, but then we caught up with him, and we ended up winning that game. But he threw the ball a little bit in college last year. Now, different story, pros camp, and I do agree with you, Zach, right on there. We have Low in the house saying absolutely. Nanad in the house saying hello from Serbia. Cleveland me no hat tones in the house. Christopher Cole saying, hey guys. J-Lo, thoughts on the situation? And Zach made another good point. Bucs really never dressed 3, only when they needed a roster promotion for bonus purposes. It seems like the past couple of years, when they try to get Trask or Ryan Griffin or Michael Pratt a little bit of extra money.
No, it's smart. For the most part, like Zach mentioned, it didn't look very good once Trask got out the field, and nobody's really wanted to see the other quarterback in there. No disrespect, for the most part. I'm definitely glad Baker's okay for one thing, but adding Bridgewater in the QB room, I think it's helpful, resourceful. He's got a lot of history, success from the past, but he's not gonna, pull miracles here. But I'm fine with the QB room. The more the merrier.
Welcome in, Cats. Long time no talk. Teddy Bridgewater is a Buck. Any thoughts on that?
Yes, smart signing there. I think, I don't know if it's precipitated mainly because of Pratt's injury. I think that's got a large reason to do with it. But it never hurts to have any competition. Competition never hurts.
Yeah, a little competition never hurts. And great to see you, brother. I'm glad you could fit in. But hey, we got you. We got the great Cats. Speaking of great, Michael Pratt was liked greatly by the Bucs brass, KB. They brought him in from Green Bay for a reason. He was drafted by the Packers, never really fit in there. Bucs brought him over. He got promoted a time or two to the active roster just for money purposes, really, and for the Bucs to show, hey, we do like this guy. What say you? Do you think this is the end of the road, a short road that is, of his time as a Buccaneer, whether he gets placed on IR and kind of gets written off or released or whatever the case might be? Have we seen the last of Michael Pratt in a Bucs uniform?
I don't think so. If he, ends up on IR, if the injury is pretty long term, I don't really see another team really doing anything unless, it's an injury where he can come back later on in the season and someone wants to stash him or something like that. But really from that end, I think he's going to come into camp, probably a QB3 next year. We'll see if it's Trask or someone else, maybe like a QB2 is going to be in the running there. It sounds like they like Pratt. They're ready to draft Pratt, I believe, in the 7th round before Green Bay swooped in and got him. So I wouldn't be too concerned. And again, it's, I'm more worried about the injuries of like David Walker's development. Like those are the things that are going to be like a little bit more underneath the microscope than Pratt. Again, we see quarterbacks. Pratt has good tools. I believe he's from Tulane. Tulane's thrown in a couple decent, quarterbacks the past several years. So he's got some talent, but we know really in Tampa Bay probably better than most franchises. Talent at the quarterback position usually doesn't just mean results. There's a lot more that goes into it there. So maybe for Pratt, this is a good opportunity to get mental reps, not have the pressure on him. Again, he's got to come into an offseason next year and be able to, hit the ground running from a QB3 perspective. That's what I envision for him next year.
Zach, I'll frame it like this to you, as I do agree with KB there, but do you think the Bucs QB room is now firm? Do you think this is how it's going to look for the duration of the season? We know there's no such thing as a firm roster. It's very fluid this time of year, but do you say otherwise for the Bucs quarterback room now that consists of Mayfield, Trask, and as we know, Teddy Bridgewater and Basilick from Bowling Green?
Yeah, I believe so. I feel like Pratt's injury is probably gonna sideline him for the season, and that's why they brought Bridgewater in. So I just don't know where the rules are with a veteran on the practice squad. Are we still operating with those COVID type rules where they can put somebody on the practice squad that's seasoned?
You could see they could be seasoned vets, and you could still protect a couple players per week. So
yeah,
those are the two that stuck.
Yeah, I feel like Bridgewater will land there, not really be active for game day. But I don't think Basilick makes the cut or the practice squad. But I feel like this is probably the three that we'll have all the season.
Katz, what say you, brother?
I agree with what he's saying. That I think at this point the Bucs like Teddy Bridgewater for quite a long time. In fact, and to me, you're signing him. I think the intention is that he'll be on the roster.
Yeah, and to clarify, you could protect up to 4 guys per week on the practice squad. So there you go. That's a pretty good number right there, right, Jayla? What say you?
No, absolutely. Never know, injuries happen during the game. But I do agree with the rest of them. I can see Bridgewater being on the practice squad in case they have to elevate him, in case some injury happen. But that's good. Protected 4 players, that's huge.
Yeah, that gives you room to add a guy like a Bridgewater without getting nervous of him being plucked by a foe, an opponent, and maybe getting promoted to their active rosters. It's Cats, J-Lo, Bucs by 30, and Tampa Tones here with the great Kenny Barrett, talking all things Bucs, training camp, and so much more. Fun times ahead for the Bucs celebrating 50. Murals are starting to go up. We're going to get into the mural discussion in a little bit. Do we like what they're doing with them? We know the 4 coming, 2 are here already, but I do want to talk about Desmond Watson yet again. And I know this is a name that we continuously bring up and he's brought up a lot, but I thought it was interesting is LO in the house. Lowe says, love seeing Zach from the ward. Hey, there we go. So Zach, you're in the psych ward. You're getting a lot of love right there, brother. That's great to see. And your jerseys are always a hot commodity there. So good stuff. As Tony Carbon's joining us on Facebook as well. But Desmond Watson was brought up today. And KB, I want to get your thoughts here. You were a college athlete at one point, obviously, so you know a little more about these sort of nutritional type things, workout regimens and all that good stuff. But Desmond Watson still not practicing today. Looks like he wants to get out there. Todd Bowles and Light were asked about him today. And they pretty much said he's making good progress. Now, what does good progress mean? Does it mean maybe slimming down a little bit and getting closer to practicing? Does it mean, for his just health in general? But Jason Light said, a lot of interesting little tidbits on Desmond Watson today. What I didn't hear is that he's going to practice this week, certainty. But Todd Bowles said exactly that Desmond Watson is getting better every day, according to River Wells. KB, what do you make of that?
Yeah, the Desmond Watson situation is very interesting. I have seen players firsthand not follow even if they didn't gain weight, not follow the program that the coaches and player development has really set forward from a training perspective, whether it be lifting, conditioning, all of those different aspects. Most people are probably familiar with the 110-yard or 100-yard really laps back and forth. Basically, you guys are probably more familiar with like a beat test. That's kind of what that drill is. It's basically whether or not you came in camp in shape. Amazing. The more I've heard about the Desmond Watson situation, to gain 70 or 80 pounds of bad weight while in college is really concerning. Yeah. And to my knowledge and what I've really read is that the Bucs gave him pretty much a program to follow and say, hey, like you need to hit this number on the scale in order for us to really take your development seriously. And he didn't. So if Desmond Watson doesn't practice really at all, I'm concerned about the possibility of him not being on a practice squad, for instance. Yeah. Maybe there's a way for them to keep him on this. I don't even know what this sick list or whatever, the illness. I've never really heard a player being used this way for not COVID type of scenarios there. But they have him kind of stashed on this list. I'm curious if they're going to be able to keep him on there. But really from that end, if he doesn't practice, I wouldn't expect him to really be in the Bucs' real future plans there. Because I mean, it sounds like he's not taking the process seriously. Maybe he got a kick in the ass and he does now, but really at the end of the day, I mean, this is a professional sport. Like you have to stay in shape. You have to do these certain things. We saw what happened with Chris Swaggy Baker, for instance, when it comes to not staying in shape and then your play falling off the hill. I forgot Albert Hainsworth was another one there as well. Got to Tampa, let himself go. Was really at the end of his career there at that point, but still the sentiment is if you can't even do that, how are you going to hold up during the season? A roster spot in the NFL is super valuable. There's a lot of really good players that barely make practice squads or not even ever dress. So really from that end, we'll check out probably the official depth chart there. But I really don't see Desmond Watson playing this preseason the way that things are looking right now. But for his sake, I hope he's hitting the numbers. I hope he does those things because we know the talent's there.
And Zach, when we came into rookie camp, there was excitement in the air. His poundage was down a little bit, so people had reasons to be hyped. But as Kenny said, now the progress kind of halted. It stopped, and now you don't really see the progress where he made between the UDFA signing and rookie camp. It doesn't look like there was progress made from rookie camp to training camp, Mr. Zach.
Yeah, agreed. I agree with what Ken was saying there. It was a long shot for him to make the roster anyway. We're pretty deep on the line, especially in those two positions. And not being able to practice in training camp, not being able to get on the field in preseason is going to make that almost impossible for him to make it. I mean, impact of 2025 was probably going to be nothing anyway while he got into NFL shape. And it was going to be 2026 before he really maybe saw this guy in a Bucs uniform. But if he's not meeting the milestones and taking that part of it serious, it's going to make it almost impossible for him to achieve a roster spot. They obviously see something, right? Or they wouldn't have brought him in. They wouldn't keep him around. But it is really sad to see him out there just walking, and you can tell that he wants to be out there, but it's for his own good. I mean, with as hot as it is and that kind of weight, man, I can only imagine, what would happen if, he had some sort of an episode due to the heat on the field. So it's for his own good. It is sad, but like I agree with Ken. It's a very, very much uphill battle, especially if you're not doing what, the regiment dictates.
J-Lo, being a Florida Gator guy, did you expect this, out of Des Watson at the Buccaneer level? Did you expect better preparation, or is this about what you saw coming?
I mean, truthfully, I kind of knew he was going to struggle because when he first got to Florida, he was like, I think 380 or something like that. And then during his career at Florida, he put on all that weight and got all the way up to 430 something, 440 something. So he put all that weight on, so it shows that he didn't really take his
I
diet.
think he got up to 464 or something like that.
Well, yeah, you go 464, but you know what I mean, 380 to 464 in 4 years at Florida. You would think he would have been on a better diet prep, but unfortunately, he wasn't. So I kind of had a feeling this was going to be a struggle bus this coming season. So my best guess is that if he can't drop the weight or even practice, he may not even be on the practice squad, because no team's going to touch that right now. I'll tell you that right now. No team's going to take that chance. So to me, I feel he'll probably need a redshirt year to get in better shape, for his health concern. That would be my best guess for Desmond Watson.
Yeah, as Christopher Cole and you guys alluded, his health is what's important. Obviously, that's why the Bucs are taking it slowly with him. Katz, he's listed as the fourth-string nose tackle on the depth chart. When the Bucs signed him, the social medias were hyping him as a tush-push Terminator. So the momentum is still there a little bit, but it's losing ground quick for Desmond Watson, Katz.
Yeah, ever since the Bucs signed him, I appreciated, the enthusiasm, but at his weight, I think he was 460 at the time. I said to myself, if he's going to have any chance ever, well, this year, he's got to at least get under, I was thinking 380. I don't remember what Gilbert Brown played at. He was a pretty big dude. And I was thinking, all right, maybe he could be like him, but he was not ever over, the 400 mark that I remember. So first and foremost is his health. So he gets to a situation where he's at least living a healthy lifestyle. Then next would be, okay, can you get into a football shape? So it's going to be a long climb for him, but I wish him well. Hope best.
Yeah, it's sad. We all wish him well, and he would be a beneficiary to this football roster if he was in shape, if he was able to be that tush-push Terminator next to Canty and Vea, but his health comes first if he can't get himself into shape, and if a football team can't help him do that, I'm not really sure what lies next for him, but we're all praying for the big guy to get in shape. Here on the Buccateers, we are live on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell on. Live with the great Ken Barrett right now, our good friend of the programs here, talking all good things Bucs training camp and so much more. And that leads us to the stadium murals. Speaking of good things, it's the 50th season, and they've had a great idea. Scott Reynolds was on last week, a Pewter Report, and he was on our show, and he kind of hinted to, hey, maybe the Bucs go a different route with the murals. Maybe they do past and present to honor 50 seasons, and that's exactly what the Bucs are doing. Scott Reynolds hit the nail on the head, and he even got a prediction right with Levante and Brooks. That was the first mural up. Second one up was Jimmy Giles and Mike Evans, and KB still left are Doug Williams and Baker, which I would have wished maybe was a trifecta mural. I wish they could have snuck Brady in there maybe to celebrate all three of them. And some fans wanted Jameis and Trask probably, but and then the fourth mural will seemingly be
I will say I'm happy that they didn't push Brady on a marketing campaign, because we know they pushed Brady last year, for instance, with the creamsicle. And I love Tom Brady being on this team. I'm really appreciative of the Super Bowl and really the 2021 season. Just again, we performed so well. Injuries late killed us, but I think 2020 or end of 2020 into 2021 was just a good time. But I'm really happy that they didn't just rely on Brady. It was a great era, but again, I think there's the Bucs pre-Brady, after Brady. Let's just focus on the after Brady at this point. And that's to me what the mural should represent.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I thought maybe just since it is 50 years of Bucs ball, I feel like not that it was a great era, but they kind of, left a little bit of, they represented old school and new school, and Brooks is kind of that middle glue, and Barber's that middle glue, but the alarm clock era outside of Levante, Evans, which are still on the team recently, but I think you could have honored maybe Brady, but who cares? Doug Williams is more important to me because that was the franchise quarterback who started.
I think that's good for people who, again, from that era. I know James Wilder, someone who gets overlooked and
all the time.
But that's what I mean. It's just I think it's good just to throw those kind of nods there. We know Brady's going to be calling probably a couple Bucs games at this point. So there's going to be enough Bucs and Brady, just and I know with the next couple of years, Brady's going to go into the Hall of Fame, probably as a Patriot and all of those different things. I think it's good to kind of separate yourself a little bit and not just solely rely on Brady from a marketing standpoint. But I agree with you. I like what they did. I'm happy that we got the got the Brooks, got the Rondé, and threw some current players in there. I think it's good marketing. And again, I'm really excited about these white throwbacks. I might be getting one here before the season starts. So I wish they had more players for them. That's my only feedback there.
Yeah, we need to see more available, right? But it's just they'll get there. Maybe Fanatics, you never know. Baby steps, we'll see. But I'll hit you up off here, KB. Maybe there's something we could do about that. Zach, what say you on the Murals and the status of them? Do you have any favorites? Do you think this is a great idea? Scott Reynolds alluded to. What say you, brother?
Yeah, well, first of all, they're gorgeous. 2 of the 4 were up last weekend when I was there. They look amazing. I'm glad I'm not the person that has to make the decisions on who goes up there, because I don't know that I could. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, how much sweeter would the Brooks and Levante look with Nickerson up there as well, right? And I think every one of those murals that's up there, we can all think of maybe another player or two that should be on that thing. So I'm glad I don't have to make the decision. I do like the combination of the old school versus the new school all being tied together. I really wish we had a chance to see an alarm clock jersey up there, but it's not. Then spoiler alert, there's not.
Poor Zach, man. I feel for you with the alarm clocks there, man. No representation. But
if it wasn't for Shaq Barrett, I think mine would have already been donated at this point.
Hey, there you go.
Just
well,
for my namesake, just nice to have. But.
Yeah. Well, wear it when it's dark out and you're on a jog. At least it's reflective.
Safety first.
Exactly. J-Lo, thoughts on the Murals? I agree with Zach as well. A Nickerson would have been cool for the linebackers. Maybe you could have sprinkled in Vincent Jackson on the Jimmy Giles, Mike Evans one. Maybe John Lynch on the Winfield Barber one that gets put up momentarily. What say you, J-Lo?
I think add another player or two in that mural would have made it more awesome. I feel leaving Sapp out was kind of a little hurtful because he brought a lot of noise in that stadium. You could have combined him, Vita Vea, Elijah Cansey, some of those legends in there. But it is what it is. For the most part. Let me go back to quarterback. Maybe even Brad Johnson. Johnson did a lot of great things here. Our first Super Bowl winning quarterback as well. You could add that in the midst for the QB room.
Or maybe just a mural of both Super Bowl teams like Johnson and Brady hosting the Lombardis and the trophies in the background. Kat, thoughts on the murals?
Well, I think the concept is fantastic. Unfortunately, you only have so much mural space. I think that's why we're seeing some players, unfortunately, get left off, not because they're lesser, but it's just, it's like Zach alluded to, it's a tough decision to make. But I think the concept is great, and I'm glad that they're doing it.
Yeah, as it looks like Bucco's in the house. Wow, is a commenter, and we're going to keep the other comment to himself because it's a rude one, although it's a joke. We know it, but that's why Bucco's never around because he doesn't want to show his face, I'm guessing. But what up, Bucco the Bruce? We love you. Co-host of the programs, commenting on the show. But Katz and Zach, I think you guys are right. That would be too tough of calls for me to make who the hell gets represented on that. I'd have every player ever put on a Bucs.
I think what they need is just some LED murals, right? And then they can just change it however they want.
Yeah, like a Light Bright. Remember that back in the day? Light Bright. It's like, you could do that modern day terms. Hey, how softball's going good for your daughter over there, Mr. Bucco. Speaking of going good, we got a lot of good roster battles going on. Not for the front end of the roster, not for starting spots, but kind of the back end guts and glory spots of the roster, right? Last safety spot, who's going to get that? Last cornerback spot, who might land that? Last wide receiver spot, that's a coin flip. Who's going to win the third tight end spot out of Keefe and Culp active on game days? Quarterback now, that could be a battle, that last spot. D-line, the last spot might be a battle. Kind of a battle of the quote-unquote last spots at these positions, right? Which kind of bodes really well to the Bucs front office on building such good depth that there are not more important positions up for battle. Like last year, you had a couple more important ones. Injuries aside, cornerback, you had some good battles going on there. Safety, obviously Whitehead, but who was going to be the backup? Wide receiver 3 was unsure. Even running back at one point was a battle last year. KB, what are you looking forward to most out of these kind of quote unquote last of the roster battles? As Bucko said, Trask didn't look great today. Lowe saying Shiloh looks good. What back end of the spots are you looking at, KB?
I need to see whatever this Trask throw. It's a throw, right? That happened with Trask that apparently was pretty bad. Or was it just
apparently.
in
I think there were a couple of them, though, man. To be honest, I think there were a couple of videos that circulated.
I'll search for that, but specifically for the training camp battles, I kind of want to see if Benjamin Chukwuemeka is going to give Charlie Heck any real push there. I want to see some tackle depth, even if, let's say, Gadecki goes down later in the season or something like that, or heaven forbid something happens to Heck in the first month before Wirfs is back. That's kind of where my focus lies. Tej Johnson isn't practicing. I think that's a situation to monitor. I don't think he makes it to a practice squad. And I also think he would be a lead candidate for a returner position. So I think that's one to really monitor. Is he going to be like wide receiver 6, or does Rakeem Jarrett, Cam Johnson, Ryan Miller really take that role from him? I really expect the first 5 to be Evans, Godwin, Ibuka, Palmer, and then Sterling Shepard is kind of, I think, who's going to be wide receiver 5. So really, again, who's really going to be that 6? If Tej Johnson isn't practicing, doesn't really bode well for him. But the really cool thing is we're talking about all these injuries on offense, battles on offense. I don't think there's that many battles going on defense, which I think is awesome. Everyone seems to be really healthy on defense, knock on wood. But really from that end, to your point, Tones, who's going to be the last D tackle or D lineman? Who's going to be the last cornerback? But I really like our rooms outside of maybe would like an upgrade over maybe like Kayvon Merriweather, but I love Christian Izzy in depth. Maybe a linebacker depth option would be awesome. We'll see what happens with Anthony Walker's injury status there. But I'm really liking this roster top to bottom. If we're talking about the battles for an injured player or the back end of the roster, I think it's a really good problem.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, from a starting perspective, kind of see what's going to happen at slot corner. Izzy and Parrish, Vildor, kind of what happens in that situation. I think that's one to really look at. I think Benjamin Morrison's going to stick to the outside. I think Todd Bowles has made comments about him playing maybe a little bit more inside, Parrish playing some outside. I think that's great. The longer that it takes them to really get on the field, I think is a good thing. We all remember Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis, SMB, all of their first games. I think playing cornerback in the NFL is really hard. So again, having Bryce Hall back as depth, I think is great. So I'm really focusing on kind of the left tackle situation or backup tackle, and then slot corner, kind of the 2 positions I'm really keying on this preseason.
Katz, what say you? Thoughts on that? Yeah, and I agree with KB on left tackle. That's a big one. Some people seem to think the Bucs like Charlie Heck. Some people seem to think that they're open to other people there. We'll see what happens. Katz, thoughts?
Well, Jason Light said he's doing exactly what oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. Went to Minnesota. What basically he did last year. Like, if that's the case, other than the Lions game, Schooley filled in great last year.
I really agree.
No,
I agree with that. KB, thanks for the input. Katz, what say you?
Yeah, I'm with Ken. The secondary is very interesting. I'm interested to see how the D line shakes out a little bit. I'm so unfortunate about David Walker. So I'm going to see who bumps up. Obviously, I presume that Diaby and Reddick are going to be your starters, but I want to see the depth there. Nelson. And really, I'm really interested to see if Chris Braswell truly can take a step forward this year. It sounds like he is. It sounds like they've kind of identified what some of the issues were last year. Whether it was learning the playbook, struggling with that, and that now he seems to have figured some things out. He's gotten in better shape. So I'm really intrigued to see, how the edge rushers room comes forward. And if anybody behind them, obviously I know Jose Ramirez often is talked about how good he does in practice and how he knows how to rush the passer. I've never actually seen that manifest itself in games that weren't preseason games. I'm interested to see if he sticks on the roster and maybe can actually, show some of that in actual games at some point.
Agree with you, Cats, and that'll be interesting, right? We always hear about half of these guys being quote unquote potential filled in the edge rush room, and Jose Ramirez is up there, Marquise Watts is up there, so it'll be interesting to see if any of these guys put the pedal to the metal. J-Lo, what say you? Roster battles?
Now, I will say the nickel's intriguing for the most part. And at the end of the day, whoever loses, whether it's Isian, Parrish, or Veldor, it's fully depth. That's the one thing I really am happy for. Even with, rotation with Benjamin Morrison and Jamel Dean, which will be fun to watch. Because Dean obviously can't play a full 17 to 18 games in the season. So Morrison will get his opportunities to get on the field, most likely. And plus, you can't forget about Bryce Hall, too. He's another good backup reserve. That's one thing you get Jason like credit for is a depth piece. So, but back to the camp out what we're talking about, I will say the safety room I like a lot. J.J. Roberts make a lot of noise, stepping in there in case Tyke Smith goes down, God forbid, or Antoine Whitfield Jr.
And that's been the problem the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Is a guy goes down and nobody's there to back up properly, and that really takes advantage of this team. Whether it was middle linebacker last year, we never figured that out. Jordan Whitehead started off good a couple games, but then went down and never really recovered well. So it's always that fill-in depth piece, and that's what makes this depth so key.
Yeah.
Is it brings out the best in the roster. Zach, I agree with J-Lo in terms of can't help injuries, but these last couple spots to figure out are key just in case guys do get hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just take a second though. You alluded to it a minute ago about the job that this front office has done, man. We're talking about, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53 on the roster right now. We're not talking about who's going to be starting at, left tackle or wide receiver. So it's just a tremendous job for these guys. And even the guys that they draft that don't work out here on a roster somewhere. So it's an amazing job that this front office has done. And saying that to Ken's point, there's going to be some receivers that played meaningful snaps last year that are either going to be on the practice squad or not be on this team this season. The top five are probably locked. If Tez can go, he's probably the sixth just because of his return capability. Cam Johnson isn't practicing right now either, right? So those are two guys that everybody's excited about seeing on the return game, and he's not practicing either. So I think this first preseason game is really going to give us a lot of insight into how some of these might shake out, right? If Charlie goes out there and struggles at left tackle in the first game, they might have to reshuffle the deck, so to speak. I did think it was interesting that Graham Barton got a little bit of looks at left tackle in camp. That's interesting. So we'll just have to see. Yeah, there's a lot of good. I think J.J. Roberts has a good chance of making it for the safety. I think Shiloh probably is best equipped for the practice squad at this point. Your tight ends, 3-4 battle is going to, I guess, depend on who has a better impact on special teams. Special teams could play a big role in some of these lower slotted guys to make the roster.
Agreed, and good point on Barton. Maybe if injuries do occur, him sliding out. Bredesen slides to center, which he's familiar with. Live for a couple more minutes here on the Buccateers with the great KB and a cast of characters, A-Cats, Zach, J-Lo, and we'll be back live briefly. We're going to have a mini show on Thursday, time TBD, to kick off the season, previewing Bucs Titans. No show this weekend. I'm on the road. I'm out and about. So probably no show this weekend unless Gene steps up and wants to fill in and run a show. We'll see about that. But fellas, Bucs Titans practice week, preseason week 1 or 2, whatever the hell you want to call it. Hall of Fame game screws it all up. But KB, what are you looking forward to while the Bucs and Titans battle it out not only on the gridiron but in practice as well?
It's tough is because I don't think the Titans have very high expectations there. And also, I would probably like if we did this last year, I'd have been like, "Hey, Vrabel coach team, like even the lesser players are going to play tough. Like that's the organization mentality. Whole new regime there, new quarterback. The only thing I'm really looking forward to is, obviously keeping the injury bug at bay, which usually I think happens a little bit more when you're going team one versus team two there. But I want to see kind of how comfortable we make Cam Ward, whether it be in drills, whether it be in the game. We know Todd Bowles with, the regular season rookie or backup type scenario, but we're getting someone fresh who doesn't really have very many weapons to throw to. Not a great O-line, great O-line coach, sure. But there's not that recipe. They're going to want to have starters if Cam Ward is participating. So really from that end, even if it's against backups or whatever the case may be, are those players in those one-on-one situations, D-line, corners, because there's going to be very basic stuff here. Are they able to do what they need to do against a lesser talented team? And are they doing well enough to make a quarterback who, isn't savvy like a Drew Brees or can pick you apart no matter kind of what you're doing? He's going to try to fit balls in the small windows. He's going to try to do things with his athleticism. Are we just going to let players beat us that quite frankly aren't talented enough, especially if we're doing like ones versus twos, ones on ones? That's kind of what I'm looking for there is really from a depth perspective or starters. Are we doing the things that we need to do defensively? Offensively, right now, to me, it's all about just being healthy. I'm not as worried about them. Get through it. I don't care if Baker doesn't play much in the first preseason game, if at all. Like, just kind of get through, have the practices, O-line, get some physicality. That's all I'm really looking for there.
And KB, health, as you said, name of the game, right? Don't get any big injuries. Don't let any of that happen. And these joint practices kind of became a bigger deal over the years, it seems, to kind of maybe lessen the chance at injuries. And, you're still going to gridiron out there. You're still going to battle. But, maybe not taking all those game day reps actually helps you stay safe a little more. J-Lo, thoughts on Bucs Titans strapping up on the practice field and on the gridiron? What are you looking to?
Looking forward, the O-line, the trenches, getting some competition in there. Even like Ken said, not a very talented team in Tennessee, but be a different group of guys instead of your own players practicing. I'm looking forward to see what the second and third team do going into the preseason game, going against Cam Ward. Ward's going to get his reps. He's going to get a lot of reps because they're going to have to get him prepped for the season. So I'm looking to see how they do against a guy like that, against number one overall. It'll be fun to watch. And then plus the battle of, cornerbacks and receivers. Let's see what these young corners can do covering maybe average receivers at best. I don't even know who Tennessee's number one receiver is anymore. Is this Ridley, I think? That's the only one I could think of top of my
Calvin
head.
Ridley.
Calvin
They have
Ridley.
Ridley and Lockett now.
So Ridley and Lockett. So let's see. These young guys against a vet like Lockett. Lockett, still got some gas up in the tank. So we'll see.
Yeah. They might have some pep in their step. Zach, thoughts on Bucs Titans battling it up here on August 9th at Raymond James Stadium?
Yeah, I really hope Tez is going to go. I like to see what he offers in the return game. I really think that's his path to the 53, so I'd like to see what we're working with there. But I think the biggest thing I'm looking for outside of what these fellas have already said is I want to see how Josh Grizzard calls a game, a whole game. Put the game plan together, get the flow of the game, see, if he can put together a 10, 12 play drive and consistently move the ball down the field, positive yardage plays, and see how the left tackle holds up and if we're going to have to make a move there. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. If we win or lose the game, that doesn't, I don't lose sleep over a preseason loss. There's a lot more valuable information you're going to get from that game just by watching the players and to see how all that shakes out. But I think Grizzard's ability to call a full game and to see how that's going to look is the biggest thing that I'm looking for.
Teddy Bridgewater will officially wear number 16 as well, it seems like, for the Bucs. So his number's settled for you Jersey entrepreneurs out there. Maybe somebody buys one right away. Cats. I saw somebody in the KFC drive-thru on YouTube with the Shiloh one, so you never know what jerseys might be out there. Cats, thoughts on Titans, Bucs, some of their key players, Cam Ward, Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, as they alluded to, Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, Van Jefferson, Sebastian Joseph Day on the defensive side of the ball, Jeffrey Simmons, L'Jarius Sneed. They got some star power, but not a lot of success on the field. A lot of young guys, a lot of new pieces kind of floating around in Tennessee.
Well, I think for starters, practicing against another opponent rather than your own team, I think can start to iron sharpens iron. So I think, it can kind of help break up the monotony of just practicing against your teammates day in and day out. And I think that's important, obviously. Something, not player related, but something that I'm interested to see is how teams approach kickoffs now, where touchback comes to the 35. Now, what you see in the preseason may not be what happens in the regular season, but I want to see still how they approach that. Our team's going to try to pooch kick it a little more, and we see more returns. Our team's content with putting the opponent getting the ball on the 35. I'm not. I wouldn't want our opponent getting the ball on the 35-yard line. So I'm really interested to see the strategy in that.
Yeah, that's a good point, Cats, and I'm not a fan of that, to be honest. I think they should tinker with where the kick is actually made instead of where the touchback resides. I don't know. To me, if you give somebody the ball at the 35, that's literally 2 completions of 15 yards apiece to give a field goal shot to the opposing kicker in modern-day football. So I'm not huge on that personally. We know safety first. Maybe it's a safety thing. Who knows? We'll see what the hell comes of it. But the NFL's always got a reason for something. I'm not expecting too much from this kickoff rule. But you're right on that, Cats. That's a good point. And teammates versus each other. We had Alex Kolish on Tampa Sports Radio today, USF head coach, saying, hey, after 8 days of my boys battling, they're ready to get with other people. You get tired of playing one-on-one with each other, scrambles, flag, whatever the hell the case might be. Just going up against each other in practice gets tiring, gets old after a while. As we are now about to give our final words for the program, a short but sweet show today on this Tune Me Up Tuesday. Cats, final words from you, brother, on the Buccateers podcast.
Oh, it's great being here again. Kenny, I want to thank you for joining us as always. I always love your insight. And yeah, folks, football season just about upon us. Obviously, we're not, regular season, but football is football, but Buccaneers football is a step above that. So really excited to get things going on Saturday.
I love it. I love it, brother. Great to see you again. As always, welcome back. It's football time, right, J-Lo? Final words for you, my friend?
No, absolutely. We're officially in football season. No more Sundays of non-football for a while now. So that's really exciting. Ken, thank you for coming on. Appreciate it, brother. Always enjoy the chats, in the group chat we're in. Good people, knowledge. Hopefully I'll get to see you this season if you make your way to Tampa, hopefully. Or maybe when we make our way to Carolina, we'll see. And like I said, I'm ready for Saturday. Let's do it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. J-Lo's going to be a well-traveled man this year. I got a good feeling about that. Our guy, Bucs by 30. Zach, we're going to get more into kind of the stories and the behind the scenes of training camp in our next show. Obviously, today was a little bit of a cramped one. What can you do, right? But final words from you, brother.
Yeah, man. As everybody said, football season is upon us, so revel in its glory. Ken, thanks for coming on. I am disappointed that you have nothing hung on that wall behind you yet. You need some stuff? Maybe I can just mail you some things to put up.
I have some signed Mike Evans stuff. It'll be up. Slow but steady over.
Ken's like, I wasn't expecting to be you should have done that earlier in the show, not for the final word. Damn.
That's the first thing that goes, right? As soon as you move into the new place, that's the first thing. Not the kitchen, not the bathroom. It's the Buck stuff.
KB, any
I still got one more person moving in, so it'll be soon. Yeah, but from me, I'll just end this by saying, if I see one tweet about Benjamin Morrison getting cooked by Calvin Ridley on air, it's going to be an instant mute to whoever you are. I remember last year it was Zion getting cooked by Calvin Ridley we know, or not Calvin Ridley, I just said that wrong. Brian Thomas Jr., wrong Jacksonville receiver there. That Brian Thomas Jr. is a pretty darn good player. And I know 2 people in my fantasy league that'll probably be targeting him late 1, early round 2 because they see Chris Godwin. Or Mike Evans in that role. I don't know how not Dave Canales. I don't know how Cohen's going to use him. So like, I don't want to see any of those tweets. Like, it's training camp. It's one-on-ones. There's no help. You're just supposed to be on an island. A lot of times I think offenses don't even take that. It's like kind of defenses have the advantage on O-line, D-line one-on-ones. Like, you don't want to overreact to a rep. DBs are at a severe disadvantage on one-on-ones and passing drills. So let's just get through this. If it's a team drill and something happens, cool. I will look at that video. I will accept all feedback. I will critique someone. But if it's a one-on-one, like, come on, y'all. Like, let's just enjoy the process of the preseason. Let's not overreact. Let's see where, these bottom of the rosters or left tackle or maybe even tight end 1 if Kate Otten's going to be out for a little bit longer. Like, that's kind of what you're looking for here. Don't be that training camp, someone taking a video out of context there. Like, let's just enjoy this process.
And that's
complaining
a great point.
week 1.
People take that stuff out of context all the time, and you'll see it on Twitter all the time, like a 2-second video, and everyone's like, damn, but it's like, come on now, are we really doing that? And Bucs just announced Rondé Barber and Chris Myers will return, with the lovely Eileen H. as a new sideline reporter for preseason this year. So that's something to look forward to, and she's a nice lady. We'll put it like that. But fellas, fire the damn cannons. Go Bucs. Looking forward to Thursday's short show. We'll keep you posted on the time. KB, the man with the plan. Always great to hear from the great KBU. We hope to join us more this season. We look forward to a couple of shows in the future with Ken Barrett. That's for damn sure. Always a treat. Kenny, Zach, J-Lo, Cats, Tampa Tones here saying fire the damn cannons on a Tune Me Up Tuesday on the Buccateers. Have a great night, you guys. We'll be back on Thursday. Fire the damn cannons. Good night, y'all. Have a great one.
Take care. Go Bucs.
Go Bucs. Bro, we'll put it like that. What's it like? I was actually there in attendance in Cleveland for Coe's first career NFL touchdown, which was awesome. And,
Awesome.
It was a great game. You could hear me on camera. I was just screaming, say it ain't so, Coe. Say it ain't so. Sadly, from there, the game kind of went off the rails a little. That was the last high moment of that game. But it was a great game. Overtime loss, fun time.
Yeah.
But how was that moment for you? Seeing the first, whether it was on TV, in person, wherever you were, seeing his first NFL touchdown. How was that?
Well, dude, I mean, we were at home because it was a away game. We don't travel to a lot of the away games because we can get into that later. But, to watch that and to think I wished I was there live. So to have your video was so cool. And just that, hey, this is so cool. I mean, that was so cool for us.